So the children wanted me to make a rendering video. I think the last 2 weeks I made a video regarding AI and trying to be better than AI. And during that I said, if you guys really want a in-depth tutorial on how I render, then just leave it down in the comments. If you guys don't want that, that's perfectly fine. I was just like giving out an option. Boy, did I get so many comments saying that they wanna know how I render. Which is kind of funny because I didn't really know why people would want to, because I don't think my art is as interesting to know how to render from. But, you know, if it's my children who wants to hear me talk about how I render and show my process, you know what? I'm down. So hey guys, it's me Baron and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're gonna be doing another tutorial video. I guess this is another extension of that other rendering tutorial that I made like months ago. Though I do have to say my whole entire process was kind of messy. I kind of rushed that whole entire video. So I hope you guys bear with me. There's also going to be another video coming out like really soon. So I hope you guys tune in for that one. And I hope that this video actually gets published Friday. So yeah, also if you guys want to interact with more people or me, make sure you head down to the description because I put my Discord there so that you can join the community. It's a really niche community actually. I'm really happy with the environment I fostered in it. So hope you guys enjoy that. That's cool. So let's get on with it, shall we? So before anything, I just want to take you guys through the whole entire process of how I get to the rendering portion of the artwork itself. So here, I first scroll through Pinterest to find the most visually appealing art that I could possibly find, or an image, and that is sort of like what I'm gonna emulate my art into because that's what I'm sort of hooked on. That's what I'm sort of interested with, if you will. So I chose this sunburnt guy, Korean guy, whatever. I saw this before and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of into it. So I'm just gonna download it and I'm gonna draw an OC that does this pose and stuff like that. After I got my reference, I start by deciding what character I should do or what character do I want to encapsulate in the drawing. So I decided to draw an African person because it's been a while since I've drawn a person of color OC and I want to experiment more and I want to introduce another OC into the Baron verse, if you will. So with that out of the way, it's actually time to start the rendering process. So first I lay down my sketch. What I like to do is I use a really big square brush. I'll leave on the screen here what the brush is. It came from like the Jing sketch brush set and I believe it's free and it's really good. And this is the main brush set that I always use for all of my drawing. And then I moved on to the line art. Something that I like to do is I keep the sketch really messy so that when I start doing the line art, it will also appear very messy. I don't like doing extremely clean line work because I'm still going to render it anyway in the future. So I just did a really precise, well, not really precise, but like a messy, clean like art style or a messy, clean line work. And for this specific portrait, of course, well, I want him to look sort of buff because, you know, I think that's the norm with my artwork. And then I moved on to the coloring. I placed my reference beside the drawing that I'm doing, and then I start emulating that into the drawing by using flat colors and simple shading. I first lay down all of the solid colors and then I put all of the highlights down in like a singular block or a singular like cell or something like that. And then I map out where I want the shadows to be. So I added like some airbrush moments in the edges of the face to get that like simple shadow. I don't immediately render because I think that wastes a lot of time. Something that I noticed is because when people immediately start rendering without adding the basic shadow first, it takes a really long time and it's very inefficient. So I suggest adding the shadow first before starting to render it, or like basically do a pre-render, and then when you actually do render it, it will actually look good and it will look better. I don't know if I explained it really well, but basically I place my flat colors and then the shadows, and then I pre-render it, so like adding the shadows and like mixing them all together, and then I merge all of the layers together, and then I start painting on top of that. So I add my shadows on the face, the body, simple shadows. I didn't really put too much effort into making it look so rendered immediately. So I took my time. I just like added some shadows where I thought needed more shadows. And of course, trial and error is totally normal. If you don't like how a certain thing looks, you can add more references. You can change up everything, because I feel like changing an artwork to make it fit what you want it to look like is really powerful, and that's a really good helpful thing to have. So then I finished up rendering the simple render, mind you, simple rendering of the face, and then I added some blush because of course the reference image called for some blush. This is like sunburnt or something like that. And then I moved on to just doing some touch-ups. So this is the part where I combine all of the layers together. So what I like to do first is I render the eyes first before I rendered everything else, or slash like clean it all up. I again emphasizes blue eyes. I essentially just cleaned it up because before it looked like a really messy sketch, but now it looks more rendered. I'll do an eye tutorial if you guys want me to, but my simplest description for my eyes is I first do a messy sketch. I use like the shape that I formed in my mind, and I start adding shadows on top of it so that to make it like pop out more. I do this thing where I blend the outer corners of the eyes and then add a small tiny iris with like a light color on top of it, which kind of brings out the eyes even more. I cleaned up the eyelashes by emphasizing the structure, the line of it all, and then I moved on to everything else. So I fixed up the nose. I also fixed up, I think, the eyebrows, and I forgot to do the other eye, but I think I did the other eye as well, as you can see right now. And yeah, with the face out of the way, I moved on to the body portion. I do recommend you guys use a reference because rendering bodies is kind of hard without knowing what you're doing. So with that, using references such as like these or whatever you can find on Pinterest or Google, those can really help you navigate what type of angle, what type of shadows you guys want for the drawing. How I rendered the body portion is I lay out a very messy shadow, and then once I merged all of the layers together, I start smoothening it out using a hard brush, and I start rendering the shit out of it. So like I mix it all together like a smudge type of moment. This is what I like about Procreate, because the smudge tool is actually pretty good in Procreate. Well, in my opinion at least. It's my style and it's my way of rendering, and it's been a really big part of it. And after that, I moved on to the hair. It was kind of my first time drawing dreadlocks or curly hair in general. But what I like to do when it comes to hair, and this is also applicable to any form of hair, I first lay down a solid color, and then I add shadows to where I think the hair will start and where it will end. And I add some hair follicles on the front portion. As you can see in here, I add a bunch of like dreadlocks on top of dreadlocks, and I add shadows underneath it to make it pop out more. And I put like these shadow at the start, or like I would call it the roots of the hair, and at the ends to show like the shadow from an ombre to dark to light to dark. And then once it's done, this is kind of optional, but I use like the select tool, and then I start selecting the empty parts of the hair, and then I paint it over with like a hairbrush or like a paintbrush that has lines so that it will like give the illusion of hair. And then I fix it up by using the same blending brush and try my best to finesse it through the hair so that it actually kind of makes sense. So after that, again, this part is optional. I think I did this because of the lighting, but I wanted to add like hair strands in the back area. So I added like some desaturated light hair in the back to signify like there's hair behind him, or it's more fuller and it has more volume. So with that, I changed up the background, turned it white to match with the white background of the reference. I like to do this extra step because I do this with all of my drawings. I save the image and then I go to Ibis Paint, and then I use all of the filters to help my artwork seem more unique or look more cool, in my opinion. What I like to use is the noise filter, the vignette filter, the blur frame filter, frosted glass I think is the filter that I use a lot, and of course the simple contrast, exposure, and hue brightness type of, you know, filter. And with that, boom! We're done with the drawing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been a while since I've done a tutorial video, and I'm actually really glad that people actually took the time to comment requests for me to do these types of videos, because I never knew that my art style would be very sought after to so many people. And again, I would like to thank everybody for everybody. I would like to thank everybody for all of the support that you have given me, and we're kind of almost there to 10K, which is kind of crazy, but I love you guys so much, and you guys mean so much to me, and I of course would love to have a moment where I get to actually celebrate with you guys and say that this YouTube channel is my full-time job. But enough with the sappy stuff. This is the final look, the final image, and I think you guys already saw the speed paint in case if I'm editing it right now. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. All of my socials are linked down below. I'm gonna change it to actual links so that it doesn't, you know, give you a hard time whenever you're searching for my name. If you want me to react to your artwork, make sure you tag me using hashtag Baron react to this. Hashtag Baron react to this on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or YouTube, and I'll make sure to react to it or comment on it. I don't know. Actually, there's not that much people doing it anyway, so, you know, just for the fun and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you want to join my Discord, make sure you go down to the description. The link is down there. Anyway, have a nice day, night, afternoon, and maybe even midnight for all of those Omegaverse, Beta, and Alpha believers out there. Baron signing off again.